Internet, what is up? We're back. Got a fantastic guest. But before we get to the guest, let's thank our sponsor. And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Front Country Foundation. Our good friends over at Front Country Foundation. Who is it? It's Cam Fields. And he is a service-disabled combat vet himself. He has been on the podcast. If you get in your Lone Element time machine and you go back in time to episode 31, you will be able to check out his podcast. But his foundation, his 501c3, helps service-disabled combat vets and their families with PTSD by taking them out in the backcountry and teaching them backcountry survival in a winter environment, avalanche awareness, and a lot of good backcountry skiing and split boarding. All the techniques you can show up and have minimal experience, not no experience. You definitely have to show up and have some competency on skis or a split board, but you can have minimal, and he'll show up and he will increase your skill set and spend a week with you here in our backyard in Jackson Hole in the fantastic and amazing Tetons. So who do we have on the podcast today? We have a recipient of one of the Front Country Foundation's scholarships, and he is here for part 2, and it is our good friend of Naval Special Warfare fame, a Navy SEAL by the name of Pat Tozzi. So we are happy to have him back, and we are looking forward to this podcast. So without further ado, let's dive in and hit episode 139 with Pat Tozzi. Enjoy. What's up, man?
Not man. Just enjoying last evening here in Wyoming.
In old Jackson Hole, my home sweet home.
Dude, it's beautiful.
You want it to be your home sweet home, though, right?
It will be one day.
Yes.
One day.
It's a great spot. I'm sorry that I missed you last time, man. Like, we just barely missed each other, and my schedule was like, I think your schedule was too. You were like, I don't know exactly which day for a while, and then I think you locked yours down, and then mine was like floating, and I was like, I don't know, and then I ended up having to leave like a few days, it was like 3 days. We missed each other by like 3 days last time.
Yeah, it was a short window, but I mean, kind of ends up working out because we get part 2 of 130 whatever.
Yeah, we're hitting part 2 right now. The Cato, you should have seen the color drain out of his face. That was the first interview he's ever done. So when I was like, hey man, you got the ball on this, he's like, I'm like, look man, it's the first Navy SEAL on the show. Okay, and he's a friend of ours, so you got to do it. You have to fucking do it. And he was like, oh, okay. And it was painful for him, but it
was easy though, man.
He got through it.
It's just kind of talking. Cato's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
We got to meet the time before when I came out for Front Country. We got to hang out and get to know each other a little bit, and then just always stayed in touch. So it was just kind of a organic conversation. So I do feel like people just enjoy hearing people talk, being open, being vulnerable, whatever it ends up being, just no canned scripted anything, just talking.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's my favorite way to do podcasts. And that's largely how I got started, was just let's sit down and just talk. Because there was many times where I would have conversations with people like around a campfire or in the corner of a bar or, at a restaurant or something. And we would hit it off and have a connection and talk, whatever. And sometimes it was strangers and sometimes it was people I knew. But I always left going, man, that was a really good conversation. That probably made a great podcast.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of got interested in podcasting. And then as time went on, I put it off. I knew I wanted to do it, but I kept I was living in that fear bubble, number one. And then 2, gray man bubble that you live in when you're doing the job. When you're living the life and doing the job and you don't have social media, you're not on the computer. You're lucky if you have an email address. I was living that life and just got acclimated to it and used to it.
Yeah. From,
doing the job for 13 years. And so then it finally got to the point where I had to have one of my other friends pull me aside and say, hey man, if you want to get anywhere in the afterlife, this secret, life that you're living, the gray man life that you're living, doing operational shit, and you're not doing that anymore, but then you're still acting like you're doing that, is going to hold you back.
Yeah.
So, he explained to me with the shift in what is happening with social media, and this is a long time ago. This is 10 years ago, but he basically told me, he's like, you're going to have to quit being a pussy and get involved and start doing it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I remember like being on camera, I'm completely comfortable and fine with it now.
Yeah.
But it was so painful at first and then like so awkward. And I would have to do like 15 takes of everything. Now I can just like sit down and be like, turn it on, let's go. And we're good. But yeah, it was a hard adjustment. Did you find it was a hard adjustment for you?
I'm still really kind of working through it. Brittany and I mean, for me, a lot of it's like, I wouldn't say I'm rigid, but I am in my structure, which has its own success in it. But now it's really seeing what's working and not being not myself on camera. I'm not going to sell myself by entering everything like, hi, this is Pat, former Navy SEAL. Like, I want to be known for what I'm good at and for who I am truly, not what a camera is or whatever. Just like, the conversation we had at Teton Tide, drinking Tide, a lot of Teton Tide in that. But
Teton Tide iced teas. The Teton Tide iced teas are spiked with rum, and they're absolutely amazing.
They are dangerously delicious.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
They are good, man. But yeah, it's something that we have a lot of conversations on, especially, maintaining a TS clearance for so many years. There's so much that you can't do. And I've been in business now for 13 years, and I've only been retired for 9-10 months at this point. So learning how to run the business where social media is such an amplifier, run my business through word of mouth, but also tactfully through social media was difficult. And doing it that way for so many years, now that I do have that freedom, it's like, when you confine a chicken to a small space, it gets used to this little square and it doesn't go anywhere else. Now I'm out of there and I'm like, oh man, I got wings. Like, now I'm trying to,
I can run.
I'm trying to really figure it out, but still not doing it. A lot of, I'd say, special operators, when they get out, it's all on like, I want to throw my trident out on the table and use that for the benchmark of my success.
Right.
Did the SEAL teams make you a marketable person? Yes. Did the SEAL teams teach you quite a bit? Yes. But when it comes to the social media part, no. And being a good human being on that, you should be a good example of the world that you came from, and being a boisterous or overly confident or arrogant person on there, unfortunately, is marketable, and people they take to that quickly, and it is monetized quickly, but that's not an area I want to be in. So Brittany and I are pretty deliberate on how we want the garage to be seen, how we want, my new art kind of way ahead. We want to do that in a way that is purely educational and based on not only the mental health aspect that I really want to concentrate on, but what it is I do with my hands and my creativity, not what my job was before.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely get that. And I think there's people out there that are doing it right, and there's certain people out there that we talked about that are not doing it right. But even those people, and I'm not going to say any names or anything, David Goggins, but like we talked about.
Who's going to carry the boats?
He's going to carry the boats. Yeah. So
not you, dude.
Yeah, you're not doing it right now. So we're in talking about that though. I do feel like even though he's like way over the top, there is a people that he is inspiring and helping and changing their lives. So like overall, like even though you and I may disagree with like his delivery, his approach, the way he presents himself, he's still providing value to the people that need it. Like the people that he's targeted in his demographic, they need to get yelled at.
And I think the only real problem I have with that really is, and same as you, I've spent almost a decade really focusing on different modalities of mental health practices, from heat therapy, cold therapy, breath, meditation. I'm religious, I'm Catholic, really putting all those things together. In none of those practices do they teach anything that he does. Basically, he gets people up in the morning to talk trash to themselves, and that is a false sense of security, motivation, any of that. Just like in in the operations community. It's called false motivation.
Right.
You have no foundation for it other than just being rude to yourself and beating yourself up. And that creates this false sense of self, of confidence. And then at some point, you're going to just hate yourself. Even if you hate yourself at this point, you're going to start feeling better. And then once you get to one plateau, you're going to be like, all right, well, I hit this benchmark, but now to get to this next one, I'm going to have to hate myself again and more. And that's not the way it should be. You have to learn to be content in yourself. You have to learn to push the plate away. The only workout you really need to know is just push yourself away from the dinner table if you want to lose some weight. Start moving. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace, but set attainable goals. Like David Goggins is an absolute freak athlete.
Yeah, kind of like Cam.
Yes. It's one of those people that just like their body can just do it, man. But David Goggins' story is not so different from so many like high-level NFL athletes. You know, you had a bad childhood and then you really made something of yourself. So he does do good for a lot of people. I just wish there was a bit more mental health practice and not physical beat down practice in that.
Yeah, it's super important. The mental health aspect has been a huge monster for me to climb over. And it took a lot to get to where I'm at these days. Like I struggled really, really bad. Just like, you know, my story is no different than any of the other guys out there where like you get out, you lose your sense of community, you know, don't have the boys around every day anymore. And that's really hard. And then, you're just like, I just crawled into the bottom of the bottle and then got on a really fast motorcycle as an adrenaline replacement tool. And I just was like going everywhere as fast as I could on the bike. And I laid it down twice in a month. And luckily, you know, my ex-wife, she probably saved my life, but she was like, you're getting rid of that immediately. Cause I crashed it twice in a month and walked away both times. So
hey, that's the saying with the motorcycle though, which I build and I've been riding since I was 9.
Yeah.
It's not if, but when you go down. And I mean, at any given point, you're riding on an 1/8, maybe 1/16 of an inch of rubber, and you have to control that thing. And it's not so much you or the bike, it's external factors of the road conditions, understanding that, just like being on ice, being on snow, whatever. And then, especially in Virginia Beach, the dumb, I don't know if I said it, dumb people on the roads.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to be dialed in if you're riding a motorcycle, especially like I look back on that because I was living in Southern California and I would go up and down the 15.
Oh, lane splitting.
Yeah, splitting, going like 160. Like.
Oh, you're on a crotch rock?
Yeah, I had my bike was a Suzuki Gixxer 750.
Those move.
They move, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't. It wouldn't have taken too long for me to kill myself on that thing. But then
I get that.
The whole like, you know, going to the VA, getting put on like 15 different pills, then figuring out that that's shit, and like, you know, they want you to stay on it, and they're trying to actively talk you into like, oh, just stay on it, and you know, you'll feel better, and we can change your dosages, and maybe we'll drop this pill and add this one. And they're just like, you're a guinea pig while they play pharmaceutical checkers with you. So,
well, if you look at, you know, doctors, even the 50s, 60s, and well before that, I mean, the things, and I read a lot of Stoicism, and when they talk about a doctor coming to the house, like the first things that were prescribed were sunlight and walking. You know, these pills, I got put on them too for a few months after I got hurt in Mogadishu in 2016. Man, I still have a picture of it, a fistful of, it was 2 or 3 different, like 2 nootropics, 2 like oxy-type painkillers, and I'm taking these things 3 and 4 times a day. I was on my way back from Norfolk, which is like 20, 30 minutes from Virginia Beach. I'm on a motorcycle. Yeah. And you know that feeling when you fly in somewhere new and you're just trying to get your bearings? Yeah. I had that, and I'd lived in this city for 14 years at this point, and I was nope. The next morning, I threw them all away. Not taking this anymore. I was in the gym later on, and I went into like tremors. Like that stuff messed me up, and I went back in for a follow-up appointment, and they're like, how's everything going? I'm like, I am not taking any of those anymore. And that's when I dived really deep into, I was going back to church then, trying to understand things, but really got big into meditation. And meditation 100% saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I meditate as well, and I got turned on to that by one of my friends. And I had to get the, because I had no clue what I was doing. So I got like the Headspace app.
Dude, I still have it. I've got, like weeks logged in meditation. It's that Headspace app saved my life.
Yeah, it's great. And it's really good for like keeping you on track. So for the people out there that are like, oh, I could never meditate. My brain's too crazy. I have ADHD, whatever the case may be. Like if you get that app and just do those guided exercises, and they're short. Like I think they start out at like 1 minute and then you can go up from there. But like I started with that. And by the time I was done, I was doing like 30-minute, 20 to 30-minute meditation sessions. And then I eventually got to the point where I stopped using the app and I could do it on my own. And then from there, just talk therapy. Going to talk therapy was pretty good. I did 5 years of talk therapy. And it took me a while to get a good therapist, which is what I would say the cheat code is on talk therapy. I went through like 8 different therapists, I think. And I've discussed this before early in the podcast, but like I had a therapist that I called the tourist, and he was a dude and he just wanted to hear war stories. That's all. He just lived for it. And that's all.
Yeah.
And he would do this thing where he would come back to things and be like, well, I realized earlier when you said this, that it could potentially be causing this. Could you just go over that story one more time for me? And so I want to make sure that I have it before we, move on. And he just loved to hear every single session. I think I did 8 or 9 sessions with him. It was just war stories. So I was like, okay, bro, like you haven't asked me about my childhood. You haven't asked me about like current life that I'm living right now. You haven't given me any tools in the toolbox to like try and start helping myself when I have these toxic coping mechanisms pop up. And so I fired him. And then I had another one that I called the librarian. And this chick was like, she wanted me to just read every self-help book in Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Like, have you read this book? I'm going to recommend that you read this book, and you need to read at least half of it before you come back for your next session. And I literally, sort of good on her. I crushed like 4 books, like in the 2 months or 3 months that I was seeing her for. But then I just got to the point where like, I'm like, same thing. She wasn't giving me any tools. She just wanted to talk about books. And I'm like, I'm in a fucking reading club right now. Like, bitch, I don't need you to fucking tell me to like go to Barnes and Noble to buy books.
I can Google this.
I can do this myself on YouTube. So I had to fire her. And then there was just some small personality conflict issues with the other ones. But I finally landed on a good one here in Wyoming that I went to for a while. And then when I went back, when I went to school in San Francisco, the VA, their team that was internal was all completely maxed out. So they booked me a therapist out in town, and she was great. She was awesome, and she was my therapist once a week for the 3 years that I was in school in San Francisco, and it was fantastic. And I made a lot of ground with her, but she's absolute pro level, like compared to the other ones that I'd had.
Yeah.
And when you'll find the good one, she was just great. She like challenged me. She asked me about like every facet of my life, like my diet, like my workout routines, like sunlight time, all the things. She was like asking me all these questions and like helping me establish things that were going to be, good building blocks to start rebuilding my mental health. So there was talk therapy. And then once I left school and came back here, I was doing good for a really long time and then just started. And I think it's also something with this like seasonal depression with the season here, with the snow, living up to snow, because I grew up in it and just lived in it until like up to my eyeballs for pretty much my whole entire life. So I think that I'm a creature that needs sunlight, because when I leave here, at least like 2 or 3 times a year, I get really good. I get some good sunshine for like a few weeks and then come back.
Yeah.
Completely different human.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same, man. I was given the name, it's what I'm using for my art, Summer Brave. I was given a Native American name from my dad's friends when I was born.
Nice.
They named me Summer Brave was the name they gave me. And I'm the same thing. Like I'll notice I slow down quite a bit, and then I try to be deliberate about it. I even use I forget who makes them, these glasses that emit like the proper blue lights and stuff like that you need to get for the rods in your eyes.
Yeah, or UV
in
frequency.
The morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do that in the mornings, but there's no replacement for that. So in the mornings, especially when it's nicer out, I'll go outside, do my meditation with my feet in the dirt, do some good grounding, make sure we walk the dogs every morning for, like 20 minutes just around the property just to get that, try to get at minimum, Andrew Huberman says, the minimum is like 10 minutes a day, especially in the morning, is crucial for really good brain health and really helping all those different neuro factors to give yourself that edge on mental health, that what you call like preventative maintenance.
Yeah. And so what other, it sounds like you're really into biohacking. Do you have like a particular group of favorites that you follow for biohacking?
I was big into Ben Greenfield for quite some time. And he was big into psychedelic psychotherapy type stuff. And then when he made a change to being more into the Christian faith, which we talked about the other day, as soon as he went into that, he starts speaking against it, yet still holds his benefits or whatever, the money that he gets from the places that he did speak good on psychedelic psychotherapies. He speaks against it. So I followed him for quite some time, and I do still listen to his stuff. Ben Greenfield. I really like the Huberman podcast. He delivers things really well. He brings on good guests, and his way of breaking things down, he speaks at a super high level, and then he brings it down to an understandable level. He just conveys all of that stuff very, very well.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can chase him down when I get back out to California here in the near future. I'm gonna see if I can run him down and get him on the podcast. Do you follow Gary Brecka at all?
Mm-mm.
No, yeah. Check out Gary Brecka. Gary Brecka's good. There's another guy, Brian Johnston.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he used to own. He was a tech guy, and I think he was involved in PayPal, and then spun off and started Venmo, and then sold Venmo, and so
good for him.
he's. I think his net worth is like 600 mil or something like that. But he
still not enough to live in Jackson Hole.
No, correct. Correct. Yeah. So the thing with him is he was same way, running into like health problems, like eating fast food, not working out, working in a tech job, doing startups, like working 18 hours a day, and he just burned himself to the ground, and his health went to shit, and he kind of had a crisis and sold Venmo, and then now his whole thing is like, can I reverse biological aging? Mm-hmm. So he's been doing all this scientific research on a regimen to start reversing the effects of aging, and he's actually in 2 years he has managed to reverse his biological aging by 5 years.
I don't know if you mentioned that to me when we were talking, or if Cato is like Alex is in on that as well and talking to you, because I remember hearing that somewhat recently.
Yeah. We chat about that stuff all the time. So
Alex, his genetics, he's gonna be like 60 and he's gonna look like he's still 12.
Right.
So.
Yes. He's got those good Asian genetics. So the
always looks like he's looking in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great.
He's got to be here when I make fun of him.
I know. He's not. He's entertaining right now. He's talking about skis. We're at the ski shop right now, live from the Igneous Snowboard and Ski Shop.
Dude, I will say I tried the Black Star board the other day. Dude, that thing was so much fun. Yeah. I was on the Arbor Candle before that, just doing some demos, and then tried theirs. So responsive and fun. That board was a lot of fun.
Yeah. This I'm probably going to look into getting my board. I'm going to have him build me a board next year, I think. So I've ridden some of the demo models. I can't remember what he called the ones that I rode, but I rode a couple of his. I rode one. It was very similar to what you rode with the tail. Mm-hmm. And then that was the first one I rode. The second one I rode was a twin tip. But I don't like the squared off nose, because the way I turn, the way that nose shape is sometimes it causes me to catch, and I like hop. Like when you get that speed wobble while you're like going into a turn because my nose, like I'm heavy on the front end when I turn, and it like causes my nose to dig in. So
I'm the same, and I will say for myself yesterday, jumping in with Cam with backcountry, that does not work in powder.
no.
I took Alex saw it, man.
Yeah.
I did like a double tomahawk at one point, and it wasn't like, I mean, you know how it is. Like I don't. We were talking about it at dinner. I'm not afraid of getting hurt. I don't want to get hurt.
Right.
It's the recovery that I hate. And in this one in particular, I went face first, like a foot into the snow. So when we're in like avalanche country, and that can happen fast. And that's the only thing I was like, oh crap. And I snapped up and I was above the snow. I'm like, all right,
I'm good.
We're cool.
Yeah, I can breathe. Everything's okay.
Now, Alex, go help me up.
Yes, come get me.
We just say uppies.
Yes. Yeah, he said you guys had a pretty rowdy day in the backcountry. So
it was fun though, man. I like getting out there, and Alex and I are very much the same of like, take it in. At one point we're just sitting there and talking and getting a little breather in, having some water, and a bald eagle is flying right over us, man. And that's just like, it's just cool. It's not something that happens every day.
Yeah, that's why I live here. So there's some fun facts about Wyoming. It's the least populated state in the union. Mm-hmm. As you can see, we have no traffic problems.
Nope.
We do have connectivity problems though, which isn't always bad. But like your cell phone doesn't always work. But there's no state taxes here. There's no income taxes here. We have the Firearms Freedom Act here. We have constitutional carry here. Mm-hmm. We have world-class hunting here. So it's really a pretty damn good place to be, other than the winters are like Winterfell from Game of Thrones. And I've made several references to that over the years on the podcast. Like the winters here, they will crush your soul if you're not dialed in. Like you will find out.
Earplugs, Britt.
You'll find out very quickly. Like when you get here, like the winters can get like, this is a pretty decent winter. Like it's mild. Like we've had some winters here where like, I think, what was it? Two summers or two years ago, we had a season where it started snowing in beginning of October, like first week of October, and we got our last snow like June 7th.
I think I was out here in that April, and it wasn't good conditions. And the day I left, it started to snow a little bit, and then Cam hit me up the next day. He's like, dude, if you can get back out here right now, come back out here right now. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's going off.
Yeah, it was dumping in April.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had lots of years like that where the best snow we get all season is after the resort closes.
Yeah, I was going to say it was the week after when I left, the resort was closing that weekend, and the week after it just dumped.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so I came back from Australia last year to go to SHOT Show and landed. It snowed, went to SHOT Show, came back from SHOT Show, and then when we got back from SHOT Show, I think it was like first week of March, we literally got 56 inches of snow in 3 days.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, all that considered, like all the good things that we have, there's a reason why we're the least populated state, and people like they think they're in love with it, and then I always say, you know what, come out here, rent for a year, spend a whole winter here, and if you love it, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, fuck, I love this place still, then it's for you.
Yeah.
If you're like, dear God, I almost died, I need to leave. I need to leave.
Earplugs.
Yeah. It's okay. We'll get you. As I said, we're going to go on vacations and trips we're going to go visit the sunshine. So, yeah. You're from, you said Florida? Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, that checks.
My better half is off scene right now, and I've been making a really good push to get us out here in a few years. So
if you snowboard and you love that, then you'll be fine.
Dude, for 4 days, she's killing it. Like, she's doing so good.
And you said you like riding sleds too, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. You will, and not sleds that not the little plastic discs that you run and jump on. I'm referring to a snowmobile.
I hit the jackpot, man.
Yeah.
She does it all. She's right there with me, all of it, and she's smart, which makes me question why she's with me at points.
How did this happen again?
But yeah, I hit the jackpot. I am a lucky dude. When we were out yesterday, like I wanted her there with me.
Yeah.
just to have the company. But I told her afterwards, like, this is the way up would have been fun. You still have to get down, which is treacherous.
Yeah.
You would not have enjoyed that.
No.
But yeah, I like having her with me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I got a good one.
And happy International Women's Day. It is. I like that you didn't even know. Not even on the radar. Yes.
Nope.
So I have a great support network of like women that like follow. I have a lot of female followers, and they follow the podcast and they follow me on social media, and they're great. They're like the best like cheerleading like mom squad ever. Anytime I'm like struggling with something, they're like, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need to talk about anything?" "No, I'm good. I'm all right." "Okay. Are you sure?" "Yep." And they check in on me. They check regularly.
That is and something I say, on my Mental Health Monday post. I do every Monday, Mental Health Monday, and I encourage people to do just that. Number one is ask somebody, even if they seem fine, just like, hey, how are you? You get asked that so infrequently anymore that there's, I forget what the stat was on this, but there was a study on people that survived suicide attempts. And the question they were asked is, I think it was bridge jumpers was the specific category. And that question was asked if you, while you were walking up there, if somebody asked you if you were doing okay, would you have jumped? Every one of them said no. So asking somebody hey, are you okay is so, so important. My buddy Mitch Aguiar, he is a gruff, tough dude, but one of my closest friends, because he's that person that, like, if something seems a little bit off, he recognizes it, and he is the first to say, hey, man, you doing okay? And you got to surround yourself with people like that, and you got to do your best to try to be somebody like that. If you haven't spoken to somebody in a while, reach out to them. Like, you're not going to bother them just saying, hey, how are you? Just, you haven't spoken to somebody in a while, just reach out, say, hey, just thinking about you.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, like, guys or girls, my fans will they'll hit me up and they'll be like, hey, is everything okay? How's the podcast going? What's going on in your life? Like, and I know who my regulars are, and I communicate with them, and it's great. And it does make you feel better when people check in on you. The thing that I've had to really, really work on, though, is being honest about how I am, because we are fucking so programmed to be like 3 bags full, good to go. I'll hit the beach right. You need me to get wet and sandy right now? Let's fucking go.
I'll say no anymore.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that's like where I'm at now, where I'm like, I have to like really check myself, because my immediate muscle memory is when somebody's like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, good. Yeah, things are great. Yeah. One, because I'm an optimist and I'm always like a glass half full person. But second, like, I've just been through enough hard shit where I know that even though I'm sucking right now, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, and I've had to navigate so much hard shit in my life that I'm like, I am programmed to just be like, yep, I'm good, because I know I'm going to be good, because fill in the blank reasons, time, healing practice, vacation, whatever it may be, I know things will eventually get better. So I've had to like work on really being honest with people when they ask me. And the last few days, people have been like, hey man, how's it going? And I'm like, not so great. I went through some really hard stuff when I first got back for the last, month, but now things are it's starting to smooth out again. So I think things are going to be okay. But yeah, things weren't great and it sucked, and I was not in a good headspace. So thank you for checking on me. Things are going to get better and they're going to be fine. So thank you. But I've had to really hold myself accountable, because I'm so used to just being like, yep, good.
And I think we've all gotten so far away from, I think, the ability to do that, and like knowing in the hard times that it's going to get better. And better doesn't necessarily mean good, Better could just mean that you woke up again the next day. And something, I went through a really hard time in life, and I forget what I was reading at the point. It might have been that book I was telling you about, The Mountain Is You.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out.
You start to, when you're deliberate about looking at, even if it's at 1 second of a good time in your day, if you look at that and you're like, all right, I recognize that I am present in this good time, it's going to go away, especially if you're in a hard time. But if you recognize those, you'll start to see, okay, those are becoming more frequent, and the hard times are getting a little bit less frequent. And then it just starts to grow in itself, and you learn to be present in that, like, okay, things are good now. and the other stuff starts to fade away. So you got to learn to recognize those, be thankful for those little windows, and then know that there's going to be another one coming up. It's going to come up. It may be a little while, but like you said, I'm going to be okay. People are losing that. And we live in a society where it's so easy. You can get what you want. And if your feelings are hurt, you can just bitch about it. And somebody's going to do something about it, whether it be governmental or whatever. They're going to step in and just make things easier for you instead of you having to work through it. So that moral compass, it's hard to have a good world when that compass is just spinning because boy is a girl, but he's a boy, but he wants to be a girl, but now he doesn't anymore. Like it's all over the damn place, and people don't have that moral compass to know what is right to set you into that right path.
Yeah, I've talked about this many times in terms of that particular topic, and I am vehemently against any type of like gender identity or social, any type of gender identity politics is the term that I'm looking for.
You can't buy cigarettes until you're like 21 now, right? You can't join the military until you're 18.
Yeah.
But at 5 years old, you can chop your dick off?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the age group, like that 8 to 13 time frame when you're becoming a young adolescent and then going into puberty, your body's hormones are going fucking crazy.
It's a hard time.
It's a super hard time.
Yeah.
Like I thought, just looking back at my own life, I'm like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a GoBot. I thought I was a Transformer. I thought I was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Then I wanted to be like fucking John Rambo for a long time. And like I went through like my mom used to have to like search me before we went to church because I'd wear a red headband and a camouflage woodland, M81 blouse, and I'd have like a plastic grenade in one pocket, and like my Bowie knife like stuffed in my plastic Bowie knife in my belt. And then a Beretta, like a squirt gun Beretta in my, Dude, appendix carry.
You know Dom Rasso?
Yeah.
Very, very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Just a great dude, great family. And his two youngest, man, it was so funny. We'd sit at church together, and I'd look and I'd see like a knife sticking out here, a gun over here, man. It was the exact same thing. The beautiful family. Dom is so awesome. And those kids always brought such a smile to my face.
Yeah. I haven't got to go through any of his training, but I hear like the training he does at Dynamis is pretty good, and he's a pretty all the way, in terms of the SEAL community, he's very well respected and very well liked. So he's a good man. Yeah. He's a good Catholic man. We went to church together. Our church everybody's been disaggregated when our priest went elsewhere, and people went and tried different spots. We moved out to a different area. We're going to a closer church to us now. But I always look forward to Sundays, seeing him, his family. His youngest daughter is like my little buddy, and she was the one that at first was like, shy to me. And after we got talking, like she'll run the pews when she sees me and come sit by me, invite me to her birthday party. She's just the coolest little kid. He's got a great family. He does great by those kids. Yeah. And he's still living where you're at, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's still in the Virginia Beach area. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really think like any children should be messing with anything hormone related or big identity decision related stuff until you're 18. When you're 18, go do that then. Like sorry, if I have to, as your parent, be responsible for you and like the world comes down on me for whatever reason, I'm going to try and raise you the best way that I can. I'm going to love you. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to understand that that's maybe your viewpoint, but I'm not turning you loose to go do that until you're 18. Yeah. You're just sorry. Yeah. You want to gender I don't even know what they call it, gender reaffirming surgery or like whatever. I don't even know what the chop your dick off. Right. You want to go do that, or vice versa. Get one put on. Yeah, vice versa. Like wait till you're 18. Do they have to like take off the girl's nose or something for it? Like I don't know what they do for it. I have no clue what happened to your forehead. Yeah, I don't have. Did you get pants? Did you get a skin graft or something? Like I don't. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The loose skin on the back of my knee. Yeah. That wasn't very nice. Yeah. Brittany's not impressed right now. She's not impressed. Yeah. So the mental health stuff I think is going to be is huge for everybody, not just veterans, because I get a lot of people also that are like, "Hey, I'm not a veteran, but," and I'm like, bro, I just stop them right there. I'm like, you don't have to be a veteran to have trauma in your life. You don't have to be a veteran to have PTSD. You don't have to be a veteran to go to plant medicine. I've had people hit me up about that. They're like, hey, if I want to go to a ceremony, do I have to be a veteran? I'm like, no, this is a 2,000-year-old practice, like invented by Shipibo Indians in the Amazon rainforest. So no, you don't have to be a veteran. So, but yeah, I think, kind of what we've seen with like society, and then like the degradation of like, what you're saying with like regard to like moral compass, it's causing people a lot of mental health issues. And you know what? Locking people up in their houses during COVID did not help.
Yeah.
And it crushed several people mentally and a lot of people financially.
We're already in a society where personal connection isn't what it used to be, because so much of dating is done off of your phone on an app now. People don't understand how to approach each other, how to have that conversation, and it's far easier on there because you don't have to worry about getting turned down. I mean, I remember well before any of that stuff. I mean, when you go to talk to a chick at a bar, she wants nothing to do with you. It's a sucky feeling. But again, we talked about it.
You know what else? You know what else is a sucky feeling?
What's that?
Going home alone. So just do the reps. You get shot down. I bet you she's got a friend. She shoots you down. There's girls at the end of the bar. Like, so you're going to be able to connect with the human.
Take 10 shots.
Yeah.
Just take 10 shots. Well, I mean, 10 shots in general, I guess, just get your tequila next to you. You get that liquid courage, and each one just
keep going.
Go try it again. And if not, you're just drunk, and then
let's go home.
Then who cares? Because at that point, beauty is a light switch away.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
But we live in that society now where we talked about it at dinner. Failure has such a negative, the word failure has such a negative undertone where, as soon as somebody hears failure, they think bad. But failure it's a gift. Just like, God gave us forgiveness. He gave us so much that we have to work for. You have to look at failure in a different light. You have to try, and you're gonna fail. I mean, my scrap metal bin at the shop I just turn it over to the scrap guy, but it doesn't come out right every time. The first time you have to try, but in each failure is a lesson. The only thing that makes failure negative is if you choose not to learn from that failure. That lesson is what's going to give you success on that next try. Yeah,
fail faster, succeed sooner is what I like to say. It's a little ditty they taught us at design school with like iterating on designs or sketches or like get to like just iterate. And then when you finally feel good about something you've iterated, then prototype it. And it might turn out shit the first time, and it might break the second time, and it might malfunction the third time, but the fourth or fifth or sixth time, you may produce something that's absolutely amazing. So you just gotta stick with it. So,
and it constantly, especially with design, just constantly evolves.
Yeah. Is there anything with regard to your like mental health that you struggled with immediately after retirement?
I wouldn't necessarily say immediately. Britt and I have talked about it because it's been like 9 months or so, and we talked about it the other day. I miss the clowns, but I don't miss the circus.
Yeah.
Every day in the SEAL teams, everything you do has purpose, whether it's going to the range, going to the house, CQC, mission planning, everything has purpose to it, and it's always benefiting the team, the country, whatever. When you retire, you're on your own now. And in the military, it's just everything's already planned out. So many of the mistakes have already been made. It's a corrupt and well-oiled machine. So after I got out, I've been in business for 13 years, but I ran it differently when I was in, and it made me be very focused when I was in, but I was working a lot of hours. So I'd work my full day at the team, and I'd work enough in those times that I saved up enough when I'd deploy. I'd just shut the doors in the shop, shut the shop down, pay the rent until I get back, and then just start hitting it again. So after I got out, it's more of learning that this is a new plan, this is a new game, and it is all on me to do. So then looking at what I do, like, does repairing somebody's motorcycle really serve my purpose and what I feel that it has purpose? Yes, I'm getting this person's motorcycle back up running so they can ride. That's not enough for me. So looking at my business structure, like how I don't need to own my shop. I make enough in retirement that I can live and not do anything, but I don't have that in me. So looking at restructuring the business to where I can do what I love to do and give back. So that's why I've restructured, and we're starting to launch a YouTube channel and in-shop classes where I'm teaching people how to first buy, like if you're on Marketplace or something, how to buy a motorcycle, what to look for, how to antiquate and how to negotiate that whole thing, and then how to either restore it to a good running condition if you like it the way it is, or how to modify it. I buy donor bikes that I find, teach on those, and I rebuild them. And the plan is to raffle those, and then each motorcycle will be attached to a charity. So the first two charities will be Front Country with Cam, and the other is Hero Hunt. So I'm going to raffle these motorcycles off, and a portion of all proceeds are going to go to those charities and help out to continue to build my program as well until, I have aspirations of doing my own 501c3 at some point once we get that foundation set and continue doing something that has purpose to help people in learning to create. Because like if you look at, again, the purpose in the SEAL teams, it's there. In the military, anything kind of that. And that CQC, all these different things, they take a lot of creativity. Whenever I walk up to a house, a building, first thing I do is I look at the hinges of the door. Which way does this door open? And then I look at the walls. What do I think the internal structure of this house looks like? You have to be creative. You have to have an imagination for that. When you get out, you don't really have that creative outlet anymore. So you have to find something. So for me, teaching people foundation metal shaping, I do everything with hand hammers and
what kicked that off for you, that particular working with metal and like in an art capacity, not in a mechanic capacity, in an art capacity? Like, what was the catalyst for you for that?
Big this to Jesse James.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to him at one point, and we were talking about doing a reverse breacher trip because he's a phenomenal metallurgist. He's great with metal. He's great with his hands. He is one of the most talented human beings around. That is hands down. So we were talking about that, and then I was like, hey, man, I just opened my motorcycle shop. I was going to see if it's cool if I hung out for like an extra week and just watch you do what you do. He said, I still have the email. He said, I have 4 kids of my own. I don't have time to teach somebody how to build motorcycles. I said, okay. So I teamed up with a couple people. My buddy Kyle, who's a phenomenal metal shaper, and I built a copper motorcycle to just be like, yeah, I don't need you to teach me. You made millions off of a TV show where you go learn from people, and one person asks you to just be a fly on the wall in the shop, and you tell them stick it up their ass. So here you go, buddy. Yeah, so metal shaping, I've always loved antique cars, and they have and motorcycles. They all have soul. They all have a personality to them, and I like to do everything myself. So when it came to building a motorcycle, I want it to look like this, but I don't want to buy it. I want to make it. So I just started kind of learning what the different machines, like English wheel, a shrinking stump, like all these crude rudimentary tools that some people look at in the shop and they're like, what is this thing? And I show them. And like I've worked with Britt on the English wheel, just showing her some of the stuff that I do. And it's crazy how much control it takes to work this wheel to make a fender, make a gas tank. So for me, there's so much therapy in it because just like welding, you can't think about anything else. So in that point in time, I tell people that's when I have peace. All the stories, the gunfights, everything just turns right off. And I am present. I'm just right there with it. And that's another part of the wanting to teach the in-shop classes. I've worked with a handful of guys having some really tough times and work with them with talking about mental health practices and things like that. and then I get them on some metal, and I say, do whatever you want to this thing. I'm going to teach you some things. If you mess it up, failure. Don't worry about it. We'll make it straight again. They're like, yeah, right. So I'll let them do their thing. They don't like it. Take them, do some hammer work, throw it on the English wheel, planishing hammer, bam, flat sheet again. They're like, huh, all right. So then they do it again and then get that quiet again. And then they're hooked. So they want to work with their hands. They want to do these mental health practices because I give them the answers to the test right in the beginning. This is what this is going to do for you. Give them that education first, then teach them how to work with their hands. And then they have peace for the first time in a long time. So for me, it was initially, I just want to learn how to do this stuff with my hands. And then I saw that this was very beneficial for me in a mental health and a neurological aspect. Why not give this to other people as well? Because the old school motorcycle crowd, man, they don't want to tell you any of the secrets. They want to keep these motorcycles on the road, but they won't tell you what they do.
No, they're taking those to the grave with them. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I have antique motorcycle manuals all over the place, and that's the only kind of literature that, other than stoicism and mental health, that's all I read is antique motorcycle manuals and stuff like that, because what better source than go directly to the book of how exactly this thing was made. And that's how I've taught myself everything.
Yeah, I think getting those creative centers in your brain, like rocking and rolling, is awesome. Like, one of the things that I think really led to me recovering and finding purpose and getting on the path was going to art school in San Francisco. Like, I had worked defense industry, consulted, contracted, done the, I basically got my EAS starter kit, the whole like I'm going to contract for Blackwater for this amount of time. And then in between then I'm going to be teaching CQB classes to law enforcement and other soft units. And then, now I'm in the industry and I'm like consulting on equipment and gear, which I really love. And I still do a lot of that. But I just hit a wall with it in like 2016 where I was like, I'm fucking done with this shit. I need a fucking break. Like, I'm over it. And so I literally found this school in San Francisco, just went to this super liberal place, no friends. I had one family member there, my gay cousin, who unfortunately passed a couple years ago, but he was a great dude. And he was a great dude. But going to San Francisco and being in a city of
Dirty place.
I mean, it is now. It wasn't as bad as it was after COVID, but like
Newsom.
Right. Correct. So I had a great time there. Like, just being in a confluence of art, technology, and business was absolutely amazing. And so I grew my hair out really long, like it was down to here. Had samurai man bun top knot thing going on. Like, didn't wear any tactical shit. Wore skinny jeans. Wore my Vans, which Vans have since become a tactical shoe, unfortunately. But right. Like, back in the day when I skated, like they were just a skate shoe. So I wore my Vans, my skinny jeans, all my band T-shirts like you're wearing right now. Like, that's how I rolled. And I like grew my beard nice and long and then just adventured around the city. And I would do things like I'd get on, online and I'd look up art or photography, displays, and I'd go and check out art and photography. I'd go to like business networking things in the tech industry, and I just completely unplugged from everything tactical for 3 years, and it saved my mental health for sure. It was one of the things that definitely contributed to that.
You got to take a break from that, man. But I've looked at it quite a bit. You have to have those guys that live, eat, and breathe tactics. You gotta have those guys, man. And I feel like those guys are that have the harder time when they get out, because the world is so different, and then they go into just doing the same thing until they die, and they're just grumpy old farts, man, with terrible family lives.
It's you just described one of my best friends. He's like, he was at Ranger Regiment, and
which is a light infantry unit. They are not special forces.
Yes, debatable, but they will argue heavily about that.
They are special.
So he did that, and then he was at.
You're gonna have a lot of people talk crap on that. Huh?
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, motherfucker. They're gonna go off. So yeah, I think where a lot of people get confused is that there's Ranger qualified And then there's actual Rangers that are part of the 75th Ranger Regiment that is part of U.S. Army Special Operations Command. So he was in the 75th Ranger Regiment at 1st Ranger Battalion. And so
the light infantry unit.
Yeah. Light infantry. He was there for 23 years and then.
And don't get me wrong, those dudes are tough.
Yeah,
they are tough. They're young, just young kids that man, they are gun ho.
Yeah, they're hardcore.
I much rather work with Marines than Rangers. I will say that every day of my life. Much rather work with Marines than Rangers. But they are a special group of people. They are hard workers. They have done a lot for this country.
For sure. Yeah.
I will not say that they are not good at their job, but they are a light infantry unit.
Yeah. Yes, they are. So and then he got out and retired, and then he just kept contracting, and he has stayed contracting for the last 6 years. So he's getting up there. He's like 28 or 30, but he's one of my best friends on the planet. I love him to death, but he is exactly who you described. He has not done anything else with himself, and he is a cranky fucking Grinch human being. I call him the Grinch. I'm like, you're the fucking Grinch. And when I call his wife, I'm like, hey, how's the Grinch? And she's like, he's good.
I hate him.
She's like, I'm ready for him to go on his next trip. And I'm like, I understand. So
yeah, I don't think, man, and I look at that stuff, and it takes a very, very strong and special woman to stay there and be with that, with all the years gone, very independent and strong woman. Me as a man, now having my small family, like, I don't think that I could have done that while I was in. Like, while I was deploying still, like, I didn't have anybody. I had my dog Peanut, like my little French bulldog, and I had a hard enough time, like, leaving that dog. I took her favorite toy with me on my last or second to last deployment because, that's my little buddy.
Dogs are like your kids, man.
Yeah. So it's just got to be so hard. And the thing is with, the special operations is you have to give it everything that you've got. You have to, which makes you not give your family everything that you've got because you don't have a whole lot left in the tank, man. So you've got to really look at your time, and you've got to look at how best can I really make an impact with my family when I am around. And that I don't think I could have. I would have, if I had a family, I would have gotten out or I would have just made somebody miserable and messed up some kids' lives because I stayed in and chose to be, selfish in that aspect, that I just want to continue doing this job because I'm an adrenaline junkie, and that's basically what this is.
Yeah, I tell all the young guys, I'm like, do not get married. You want to have a girlfriend, cool, but don't get married because there's so much responsibility that goes along with that, especially if you're going to like bring little humans into the world. There is so much responsibility for that, and like you being gone 24/7, it's not conducive to them having a good life. And
it's a toxic community too, man. Yeah. Like when it comes to being, I told my guys, it's easy to be a warrior. It's hard to be a good man, and it's very, very difficult to try to balance those in a toxic community where, it's fight, banging, the F word, it's boozing, all that stuff. And you're looked at as being a good operator if you are just the wild child that really doesn't care about much of anything other than the job. That's what somehow gives you this good reputation. If you're good in the house, you can shoot your gun, you can go out and drink with the best of them. Like, you become a legend in that aspect. You're a legend in this small world that as soon as you're gone, your story is no longer told.
Yep.
But with your family, you're not leaving that legacy. You're doing the opposite of it. So I could have gotten out in 2016 when I got hurt in Mogadishu, spent a month in the hospital, a year in recovery, and I told you in that time, one team guy asked me, "Hey, how are you?" And it smacked me in the face. I'm like, I'm not good right now. This family that I've been in for, 14, 15 years at this point does not care about me like I thought. And I had put all of my money into that bank, and now that bank's dry. and my bank with my family and everything else outside, that's dry. It's like, man, I messed this up. So that's when, again, I got big into mental health. And that's, it's constant work every single day to keep the door shut on that old life and being thankful for the new one that you have. So I decided to stay in because I had made chief and I wanted to show, my goal was to positively influence 4 guys. And I feel, especially when setting goals, you should make them attainable, making them an attainable goal. So it's something you can hit. So 4 guys, and I wanted to teach them mental health practices, the book Legacy we talked about, creating a learning environment where the younger guys, the new guys, know that you are a grown man. I expect you to act as such, and I'm going to treat you as such. And there's no hazing, none of that stuff. Like, there is a pecking order. If you mess up bad enough, I'm going to tie you in a knot, and you know that. But it's nothing silly. So I created a learning environment where guys weren't afraid to try, and those guys did great things. My platoon performed great. And when I went through a really hard time on deployment, I really knew I had done a good job. We went out on an op, and I came back, did my whole thing as like the platoon chief, the team lead, all that, got everything checked, and I just left. And I always hang out with the guys, check in on them, all that. And my LPO walked to my room, my door was shut, and knocked on the door, and he's like, "Hey man, you okay?" And I wasn't. And I was like just like you said, I was like, "Yeah man, I'm fine." He was like, "Pat, open the door right now." I opened the door, and he came in and just grabbed me and hugged me. And I was like, "Is this?" He's like, "Dude, I got your back, man. Anything you need, just come talk to me." I get goosebumps talking about it, man. That's when I knew that I had made a positive mark. I taught the guys that, and I showed them, like, I can shoot with you, I can run with you, I'm just as fit as you guys. The only difference is I've been doing this longer. I know this job a little bit better, but I want you to know it as good as I do and do better than I ever did. And the only way to do that is to learn to be a good human, to fight for something more than when we're going and clearing a house. Like, it can't just be because I want to be better than you in that house. There has to be, you have to have reason to fight. It can't be just bloodlust like most of us did. You have to have more than that. And in those instances, there's times when you don't need to kill. And there's plenty of times when I did what I shouldn't have, So yeah, I wanted to stick around to teach guys that there's a lot better way to do things.
That's good, man. That's good. That's the leadership that I wish I had when I was in. So I didn't stick around in the military too long, primarily for, the toxic leadership issues that we were having with the way the Marine Corps particularly does things with their advancement and how we, the whole well-rounded Marine concept. And it's just, I hate it. I've spoke about it a lot. People are probably sick of hearing me talk about it, but I don't care. It's my podcast. The whole thing that we do with the well-rounded Marine concept is like when you hit, E9, you're farmed out to elsewhere, and then they bring other E9s and E8s into the fold. So like as a first sergeant or a sergeant major at an infantry battalion, they're fucking pogues. And they take the infantry guys and they send them to like the air wing, to the pogue units, because they want the distribution of like good leadership. And what that does is it creates a really big divide between junior enlisted and senior enlisted, because there's no continuity of leadership. There's no maintaining institutional knowledge.
Yes. Yeah.
The institutional knowledge like evaporates the second that those squad leaders now have to go do their B billet on the drill field and be drill instructors for 3 years.
Yeah.
You're losing so much of your good institutional knowledge in that particular MOS because you're fucking around with like swapping. You're basically putting pogues in places they shouldn't be in.
They do the same thing in the SEAL teams, man. Yeah. You create this bond with your guys, especially at wartime, and they're like, okay, well, you guys just finished this, so we're going to take this guy, we're going to put him over here because he needs this spot, and this dude over here. And not only does it, breaks up the band, but it also messes up you have to have a certain amount of breachers, snipers, and all that to to a platoon, to a troop, whatever. So it pushes those body pools out. So then you have to move from here and then some from here. So that continuity that you create, like, you know, it is when you're under night vision, after working with those dudes for so long, you can't see the person, but you know how they move. You know exactly who that person is. Yeah. And then you have to start that again. And I think that is one of the most inefficient things that we did in the SEAL teams. I actually created a database on Excel, all the new guys' names, all the whole team, all that, boom, 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 move them all around. Okay, this platoon has a seasoned breacher, but he's looking to go screen for development group next. So we've got at least one platoon with him, then he's got to be gone. We need to stack this platoon with somebody that can learn from him, take up that spot. Then we're dink on one other. So instead of doing this silly new guy draft, we should be treating it like an actual professional team as a roster. This was like the top grad from Buds, and he wants to be a breacher. Boom, put him in that spot so he can learn from those guys. Now we've created depth.
Yeah.
I sat in on right before the draft meeting. I was like, hey, I know this is how we've always done this, but check this thing out. And they're like, this is how we've always done it. It works. I'm like, it doesn't work. This is dumb. We're going to be chasing our tails like we do every time. Like, not going to work. Didn't do it that time. The next rotation after I had left that team, just so happened the same dude that took my credit for an androgen study program for like our protocol before we were going on trips and after we were doing blood tests and spit tests for body stressors, blood levels, and all this stuff. He took my credit for that, and then he did that. He used my my Excel sheet and restructured the team because he took over as the ops master chief then. He took my design, took credit. Look at me. I did so great. Like, dude, you suck.
Yep, I had that happen to me several times. Getting things that I had developed or come up with, getting other people taking credit. Like my squad leader, we had a situation during the invasion of Iraq where the snipers needed to go outside of our perimeter and set up on a rooftop. And so my team got selected to go escort them and help them get to the building and make sure they got in the building, make sure they got set up, and then provide localized security for them through the night. And so my squad leader decides he wants to go. So he's like strap hanging on my op. Because I was a team leader, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. He's technically in charge of me, outranks me, cool, but he wants to go. So we go out, get in a tick, and I think they couldn't see us because this was like 2003 during the invasion. So like we're knotted up, and I know they couldn't see us. So they're just like blind firing, but we took some semi-ineffective fire, enough to like make you go, oh, fuck. And we had to break contact from that, move around this other building, shoot across this alley, get to this other building because the snipers had a particular building already pre-selected they want to get in. Of course, they didn't do an alternate. So we get there, and guess what? It's all locked up.
No breachers?
No breaching kit. No breachers, no breaching gear. So I look up, and I'm like, oh, okay. Then we start taking ineffective sporadic fire again. So there's a couple of my guys on the corner. And I'm like, we have to get in this building because this building was kind of like isolated by itself in this area where like if they zeroed in on us, it was going to be really hard for us to get off and like maneuver again. So I look up and I see that there's this like window on the third story that's like open. There's no bars on it and there's no glass in the window. So I like strip my plate carrier, strip my gun belt, get my handheld flashlight, put it in my pocket, get 2 pistol mags, put those in my pocket, get my pistol, put my pistol in my pocket because I had it attached to my plate carrier. So I put that in my cargo pocket. And I assault climbed up the side of this like brick house in the middle of this firefight, get in the house on the 3rd story, clear all the way down. And then they were able to, I was able to, there was a fucking crowbar inside, and I was able to pry the bracket that was holding the padlock on from the inside away from the door and break it. And got the door open on the 1st floor. Everybody came in, snipers went up, set up on the rooftop, threw my kit back on. And then we provided security for them, and things kind of picked up for a bit. Snipers ended up shooting like 2 or 3 guys that were on an adjacent rooftop. And then things quieted down, and then that was it. And then we exfilled the next morning and went back to camp. But then we get back, and guess who wrote himself up for an award doing what I did, which is assault climbing up the side of a building, clearing the structure by myself, breaching the interior of the structure, allowing the sniper team to come in, and facilitating the sniper team to get 3 kills. Like, and he wrote himself up for that award, and it got awarded. And I was at the awards formation when they read it, and I just looked over at him, and I was just like,
"A good story, Hansel."
Fuck.
It's I've had similar things happen. It's disheartening, but there's very loosely quoted a quote in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations where he says that, when you do something good, you should be proud of yourself and not want an award, because you shouldn't be told you've done good twice. So you shouldn't need somebody else to say, "Hey, you did a good job." And I've had that stuff happen, and it still burns my ass, but at the same time, got to sit back with it and know that I did that. I did a good job. Somebody else took credit for it. That sucks. But I know within me that I did the right thing. I'm the one that did it. They want to put the little sticker on their stuff. Go for it, man. At the end of the day, you're going to know that you are the coward that didn't do it. In my situation, put us in a Polish ambush in a garbage L where we get ambushed, and I took care of everything, and throws himself in for a BV for it. Good for you, bud.
Yep.
Fat turd.
I've got those human beings in my life too. There's a reason I don't go to the reunions. I've been invited to the reunions several times, and there's like, particularly my battalion sergeant major, like, I have a policy that if I see that motherfucker, I'm going to punch him in his mouth.
Yeah, I don't go to that. Yeah. If I saw that fat idiot, his name's Ben. I won't give the last name. But you thinking about it.
Maybe should I say something?
I would like to punch him right in his fat mouth because he's fat.
I have several humans like that. So backing up, you said you're interested in starting your 501c3, which would be your nonprofit, to support art therapy.
Art therapy and other 501c3s. There's so many out there that do such great things, like Front Country, man, that, they don't do a whole lot of advertising because they're run by just a very selfless, really good individual that just wants to get out there and do good things. So seeing those people, knowing those people, loving those people, and wanting to use my gifts that I've been given, not only to fund what I'm doing to help individuals, but also help those other 501c3s. So I want to help them help people. And there's so many 501c3s out there that just, they want to do for their 501c3 instead of, we should all be working together to help other people. Stick to what you're good at. Don't change up what it is that you do as a 501c3 to give yourself a bigger name or whatever. Push that stuff out to others. Help everybody else out. Yeah. So that's my viewpoint. That's how my dream of how I'm going to establish this.
Do you know when you're going to get this boat on plane and get it moving?
Britt and I have been talking about it, doing sooner than later.
Yeah.
Big part is,
25?
especially with
Gonna be a 25 initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
With 501c3s, it's got to be done right. It's got to be done proper in like the legal aspect. Yep. So
lots of paperwork.
Yeah. For me, I've read one good book on it. I like to know enough about it that I can go to a professional and know what they're talking about. Because when I first started my business, I went to a business lawyer and they're like, you should do this, this, and that. And I'm like, yeah, that all sounds good. Just give me a business license now. So now with that knowledge and those failures and mistakes, I look at things in a different light, gain that knowledge first so I can at least give myself a good foundation to go off of. So right now it's that and just figuring out the proper structure of that with, officers and clerks and all that.
Yeah. If you guys need help with any of that, I'm sure you guys have your own resources, but I have a good friend of mine, Matt Havner, who's a Marine also. And he started a nonprofit doing overlanding stuff. Team Overland is what it's called. And he does overlanding trips for disabled veterans and their families.
That's cool.
And he is a whiz at like setting this stuff up. He's done it a few times now. So yeah, I can get you plugged in with him.
Oh,
he
for
can
sure,
walk you through the whole process. Or even, I think he said how he got his done is he randomly called some place and there was a lady there that like usually charges to like write it all up and do it. And she found out that he was a disabled vet and she was like, I'll do it for free. And
That's
so
pretty cool.
that was his first one, and then he's done it a few times. But he's extremely well versed in how that whole thing works. So yeah, I can get you guys plugged in if you want.
Heck yeah, man. Can't have too many friends, especially in
Yeah.
stuff like this where everybody's trying to do good for other people.
Yeah.
Bringing more people to the fight, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Okay, well, I think that was a good part too. You got anything else you want to hit?
No, Britt, you think anything? Oh, headdress raffle.
Oh, okay, yeah. What do we got?
So right now, I just finished up a full Native American native war bonnet. Just finished it up, full, every piece handcrafted. And what we're doing with that is my buddies have a 501c3 called Fire Ice Frogs. They get saunas and cold tubs for disabled special operations veterans to help with mental health practices, as well as physical ailments that these things help. So what we're doing with that is we're raffling that off for the next 7 weeks. I think we have left on it. We pressed pause kind of while I was here on the advertising for it, just to cut away and enjoy things here. But we're hitting it hard as soon as we get home. We're selling these raffle tickets. There's a secondary prize of a Mac Tools roll cart too. So it's a
nice.
comment, share thing. And, my headdresses sell for $50,000. So
send that over to me and we'll push it out on all of our channels.
it's $100 for a raffle ticket. And you have, one, you get to help people out. Two, you have a chance at getting something that you could resell somewhere and make you a good bit of money.
Yeah.
Or just have a good piece of art.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely get that put together for you. Where can people find you?
So Instagram, we're greendevil_garage and then greendevilgarage.com.
Awesome. Well, dude, I can't thank you guys enough for making time to do this on your vacation. That's why I'm keeping it short, because you guys did part 1, now we're part 2, and I want you guys to have a good night before you punch out in the morning, get some sleep.
Yeah, man.
You've had a big week in the backcountry with Cam skiing.
Yeah, dude. I'm tired still.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming by and taking time to do this, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You. And I can honestly say I've finally met a seal that I actually like.
There's always one. Sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while, yeah?
Yeah, I love that saying. I use that all the time, too. All right, let's get the hell out of here. To everybody that showed up, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Lone Element Podcast. We'll catch you next time. Peace.